They say abandoned orphanages are silent, but that's a lie. The walls remember the screams, the halls echo with forgotten prayers, and the air still trembles with the laughter of children who never grew up. Every doorway hides a story buried in dust and blood. And tonight, we're going to open them. These are the places where innocence died, and something else took its place. Something that still watches, still whispers, still waits. Turn down the lights, listen closely, and don't look away, because once you enter these halls, you may never come back out. When I was 12, I lived near the edge of a small town called Willow Creek. There, hidden behind overgrown trees and rusted iron gates, stood St. Mary's Orphanage, a crumbling stone building that everyone avoided. The place had been shut down for decades after a mysterious fire killed most of the children inside. The story went that no one ever found their bodies, just ashes, small toys, and dozens of tiny footprints burned into the floorboards. Years later, as a grown man, I returned to Willow Creek. I'd always been obsessed with the old orphanage. Maybe it was nostalgia, or maybe something darker was pulling me back. My camera trembled in my hand as I pushed open the gate. The iron groaned like something alive. The air smelled of rot, mold, and something faintly sweet, like burned sugar. Inside, the walls were blackened and damp. Torn wallpaper clung to the plaster like dead skin. Children's drawings still hung in the hallways. Stick figures holding hands, smiling under a sun that was now faded to a gray smudge. As I walked deeper inside, the temperature dropped sharply. My breath fogged the air. I told myself it was just the chill, but then I heard it. Soft laughter, echoing faintly from the second floor. It sounded like a child. My heart pounded, but curiosity won. I climbed the creaking staircase, my flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. At the end of the hall was a door painted in peeling white with the word Playroom scrawled across it in red chalk. I pushed it open slowly. Inside were scattered dolls, some headless, others missing limbs. A rocking horse sat in the corner, swaying gently even though there was no wind. I crouched to take a picture, but the air suddenly shifted, heavy, suffocating. The laughter came again, louder now, joined by whispers. "Play with us." The voice came from everywhere at once. The flashlight flickered, and I saw movement, small figures darting between the shadows. My throat tightened. I could see them now, children, their faces pale and hollow, eyes black and shining like oil. Their clothes were burned, edges charred and smoking as if the fire had never gone out. One girl stepped closer. Her hair was matted, her skin blistered and cracked. She was holding a doll with no eyes. "Why did you leave us?" she whispered. I tried to speak, but no sound came. "You were supposed to stay," another voice said, behind me this time. When I turned, I was surrounded. 10, maybe more, ghostly children, each more decayed than the last. They circled me, whispering, giggling. The girl reached out, her fingers brushing my arm. Her touch was freezing, so cold it burned. I stumbled back, knocking over a small chair. Then the fire began. It started as faint smoke curling from the floorboards. Then came orange flames, licking the walls, devouring the ceiling. The children didn't move. They just stared as the fire engulfed them, faces calm and sad. I ran, crashing through the hallway, choking on smoke and fear. When I burst outside, the orphanage was silent. No smoke, no fire, just the cold night air. The building stood as lifeless as before. I looked back once more and saw them. In the upper window, the burned children pressed their hands against the glass, watching me. The girl with the eyeless doll mouthed something I couldn't hear. I ran all the way to town and never went back. But last night, almost 20 years later, I woke to the sound of children laughing in my apartment. My camera, the same one I used that night, lay on the table. The screen flickered to life on its own. There, in a grainy black and white photo, stood the burned children in my living room. Behind them I could see myself sleeping in bed. And in the corner of the picture, barely visible, was the girl with the eyeless doll. She was smiling. They told us the orphanage was cursed long before it burned, that it had swallowed every child who dared to call it home. I didn't believe in curses. I was a documentary filmmaker chasing haunted legends, and St. Agatha's Orphanage was the perfect subject. The building stood alone in the woods, surrounded by fog so thick it looked like the world ended just beyond the trees. My partner, Lena, thought it was just another creepy building we'd spend a night in, film a few noises, and leave with a good story. She was wrong. The front door gave way with a low groan, like a sigh of pain. Inside, the air was stale, the smell of wet wood and rot hitting us instantly. Our flashlights danced over crumbling walls, broken toys, and decaying furniture. The silence was thick, too thick. "This is where they say the matron kept the sick kids," Lena said, her voice hushed. The local legend said that in the 1950s, a mysterious illness swept through St. Agatha's. The matron locked the infected children inside a single room to contain the sickness. Room 13. None of them were ever seen again. When rescuers came, the matron was found dead, her body seated in a rocking chair, her eyes burned black. The number 13 had been scratched off every door long ago, but we found it, half hidden behind debris and a torn curtain. The door itself was warped, and strange marks were carved into it. Small handprints, over and over, as if dozens of children had clawed at it trying to escape. Lena hesitated. "Maybe we skip this one," but I'd come too far. We set up our cameras. Static crackled through the mic even though the batteries were fresh. My flashlight flickered as I reached for the handle. The moment I touched it, a wave of cold spread through my arm. The door creaked open. Inside was a small windowless room. Rusted bed frames lined the walls, each one tiny, meant for children. The smell was worse here, mold, rot, and something like copper. On the far side, a child's drawing hung crookedly on the wall. I walked closer. It showed a tall woman with black eyes surrounded by crying children. Beneath it, scrawled in messy handwriting, were the words, "She said we'd never leave." "Creepy," Lena muttered. "Let's get the EMF reading and—" She stopped mid-sentence. The rocking chair in the corner began to move. Slowly, creak, creak, creak. My breath froze. The room temperature plummeted. I could see my own breath cloud in the air. Then came the whisper, so faint I thought it was the wind. "Mommy, we're cold." Lena's eyes widened. "Tell me you heard that." Before I could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed above us. Light, fast, like children running. Then laughter, faint at first, then louder. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing in and out like lungs. My camera flickered. On the tiny screen I saw movement behind me, small figures darting between the beds. I turned, but there was nothing there. And then Lena screamed. One of the metal bed frames had moved, dragged across the floor by invisible hands. The sound was sharp, like nails on glass. The whispers grew frantic. "She's coming, she's coming." The rocking chair stopped. The air turned heavy, pressing against my chest. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped forward. It was the matron, or what was left of her. Her skin hung like old parchment, gray and blistered. Her eyes were nothing but black, hollow sockets that seemed to bleed smoke. Her mouth twisted into something that might have once been a smile. "You shouldn't be here," she rasped. "The children are sleeping." I stumbled backward, tripping over a rusted bed. Lena aimed her flashlight at the matron, but the light bent around her, like it refused to touch her. The children appeared next, half visible, translucent shapes with sunken faces and hollow eyes. Their lips moved, whispering in unison. "Stay with us." The matron raised a trembling hand. "They need company." Lena bolted for the door. I followed, but the moment she touched the handle, the door slammed shut on its own. Her flashlight shattered on the floor. We were plunged into darkness. Something cold brushed against my neck. I turned and saw a child's face inches from mine, skin burned and peeling, eyes weeping black tears. "Don't leave us," he whispered. The walls began to drip thick, dark liquid, blood, or something worse. It crawled down the peeling wallpaper, seeping into the floor. The smell of decay was unbearable. I grabbed Lena's hand and pulled her toward the door, ramming it with my shoulder until it burst open. We ran down the hallway, our footsteps echoing like thunder. Behind us, the laughter turned into screams, high-pitched, childlike, but furious. When we reached the exit, the front door was gone. Just a blank wall stood where it had been. "No, no, no!" Lena pounded her fists against it, but the wood didn't move. Then, in the reflection of her camera lens, I saw them. Hundreds of small figures standing behind us, filling the hallway. The matron towered in the center, her empty eyes fixed on us. I turned to face her, raising the camera out of instinct. The light flickered once, and everything went black. When I woke, I was lying on the ground outside, covered in dust and ash. The orphanage was silent again, as if nothing had happened. Lena was gone. The police searched for her but found no trace. My footage was corrupted, except for one frame, just one image that somehow survived. It showed room 13. Lena stood inside, surrounded by ghostly children. The matron's bony hand rested on her shoulder. and across the wall, written in what looked like blood, were the words, "Now she'll never leave." The first thing I noticed about Hollow Creek Orphanage was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that presses on your chest and makes you feel watched. The place had been abandoned since 1974, after every child and staff member disappeared overnight. The police found no bodies, no signs of struggle, just the smell of burnt wood and faint singing from the basement. That was why I came. I was a paranormal researcher, and this was the story that could make my career. My name is Evan Cole, and I wish I had never walked through those doors. The building was crumbling, roof half collapsed, wallpaper hanging in wet strips, dust thick enough to choke on. I stepped inside with my flashlight, recorder, and camera. The wooden floor moaned beneath me like something alive. On the walls, I found old photographs still clinging to their frames. Children smiling, their faces faded and eyes scratched out. Beneath one picture was a plaque that read, "We are never alone in his house." I tried to ignore the unease crawling up my spine and went deeper. My recorder picked up faint static. Then, just for a second, I heard it, a child's giggle. I froze. The orphanage had 3 floors, but I was standing near the stairway that led down, into the basement that no one had entered since the disappearance. The air coming from below was colder than winter. Still, I had to see. The stairs creaked with every step. Halfway down, my flashlight flickered, and I heard something move below, a soft, dragging sound, like bare feet on concrete. When I reached the basement, the smell hit me, damp, iron, and something that reminded me of dried blood. The room was vast and empty except for broken cribs, rusted playpens, and a single rocking horse that swayed slowly back and forth. I turned on my recorder. Basement level, Hollow Creek Orphanage, no visible movement. Then a voice whispered, right next to my ear, "Why did you come back, Mr. Evan?" My stomach turned to ice. I spun around, shining my flashlight through the darkness. No one there, just shadows. My mind tried to rationalize. Maybe it was playback feedback, maybe the wind. But then I saw them. Tiny footprints, dozens of them, appearing one by one in the dust. They circled me. My breath quickened. "Who's there?" I shouted, though my voice shook. That's when I heard the singing, soft childlike voices singing an old lullaby. It echoed around the basement, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Hush now, don't you cry. Mother's here to sing you by." My flashlight blinked again, and the walls changed. The peeling paint peeled itself away, revealing dark writing beneath. I could barely read it, but the words repeated over and over. "She is below. Don't wake her." Then the floor trembled. The rocking horse stopped. From the far corner of the basement, something began to crawl out of the darkness. At first, I thought it was a child, but its limbs were too long, its movements too jerky. Its face, what was left of it, was gray and stretched tight, eyes black and hollow. And behind it, more shapes followed. Small, skeletal figures with gaping mouths and whispers spilling from them like smoke. "Mother said we can't leave," one voice hissed. "Mother keeps us safe." I stumbled backward, my camera falling to the floor. The lens pointed toward them, recording everything. The first creature stepped closer, its fingers twitching. "She's sleeping," it said. "But you woke her up." A sound filled the basement, a low, guttural groan from beneath the ground, as if something enormous was stirring under the floor. The concrete cracked. Dust poured from the ceiling. Then I saw her. A massive shadow rose from the broken floorboards, a figure shaped like a woman but made of ash and darkness. Her face flickered between dozens of others, smiling, crying, screaming. Her voice was layered, like hundreds of mothers speaking at once. "My children are safe here," she said. "And now, so are you." I ran, up the stairs, through the hallway, bursting through the front door. I didn't stop running until the orphanage was a distant speck behind me. When I got home, I watched the footage. My camera had captured the children, the crawling things, even the shadow woman. But just before the video ended, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. In the final frame, carved into the wall behind me, were fresh words that hadn't been there before. "Welcome home, Evan." And now, every night, I hear that same lullaby playing softly from my basement. "Hush now, don't you cry. Mother's here to sing you by."